Welcome to Spurs Focus, your go-to spot for daily Tottenham news, transfers, and match updates. Don't forget to support the channel by hitting that subscribe button now. Let's dive into today's top story. It looks like it will once again be another mad rush for Tottenham in what remains of the transfer window. We are now into the final week of the summer market, and Thomas Frank is crying out for new signings in a couple of important positions. Transfer outgoings also need to take place to ensure that the Spurs boss has the perfect squad to contend with Premier League, Champions League, FA Cup and Carabao Cup football in the 2025-26 season. It has been a summer transfer window to forget for Tottenham after seeing high-profile moves for Morgan Gibbs-White and Eberechi Eze fall apart. It is imperative that Johan Lang finishes the final week of the window on a positive note by concluding a number of deals for Frank. So what do Spurs have left to do before Monday's 7 PM deadline? Football.London takes a look below. Tottenham are in desperate need of a new number 10 after losing out on the signatures of both Gibbs-White and Eze. Frank's team are so light in the position right now due to Dejan Kulusevski and James Maddison's injuries that have left them in the treatment room for a considerable period of time. Nico Paz, Bilal El Khanous, Morgan Rogers and Magnus Akliushi have been in the headlines regarding a transfer to Tottenham. Spurs have to ensure that they get a new number 10 in through the door as a priority, or else it could really hurt them with the amount of games on the calendar between now and January. The final week of the transfer window will see Savinho's future resolved one way or another. The Man City winger has been linked with a switch to Tottenham of late, and Football.London understands the North London club remain intent on trying to sign the Brazilian. Savinho is said to be keen on a move to the capital, but it will all depend on Tottenham submitting a large bid that City deem acceptable. If they cannot come to terms on a deal with Pep Guardiola's team, then they will have to shift their attention elsewhere for another winger. Tottenham require a new centre-back in what remains of the transfer window to ensure Frank has sufficient cover at the back. However, a new number 10 and winger are higher up on the transfer priority list right now. The Spurs boss does switch to a back three at times, and it's important that he has another senior option at his disposal amid Christian Romero and Mickey van der Ven's injury issues last season, and Radu Dragusin working his way back to fitness from an ACL injury. Dane Scarlett is still waiting to secure a move away from Tottenham as we approach the final few days of the transfer window. The striker was not included in the squad for the pre-season tour of Asia to explore a loan move away, but one has not come to fruition just yet. The player needs to be playing week in, week out, and all will be hoping that a deal can be agreed on very soon. Luka Vuskovic has been part of the Tottenham matchday squad for all 3 games so far this season, but he is still waiting to make his first competitive appearance for the Lilywhites. A temporary move does look likely before Monday's transfer deadline, as he is expected to depart on loan. Hamburg have been heavily linked with the Croat, and a switch to the Bundesliga team would see him link up with his brother at the club. After excelling for Radomiak Radom and Westerlo previously, another spell of regular first-team football is needed to aid Vuskovic's development. Brian Gill clearly does not have a future at Tottenham, having missed out on a squad number for the new season. The Spaniard is currently working his way back to fitness from a knee injury, and that could potentially impact a possible move given it's not clear yet when he will be fit to return to the pitch. Yves Bissouma could possibly be in the headlines over the next few days due to his contract situation at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. The Mali international is now in the final year of his Spurs deal, and the club really need to sell him this window to ensure his value does not drop too much. Tottenham are looking to move on the ex-Brighton and Hove Albion player who was recently disciplined by Frank and left out of the squad for the PSG game due to poor timekeeping. Manor Solomon is now back in training after injury stopped him from getting a chance to impress Frank earlier in the summer. The Israeli wowed for Leeds United in the Championship last season, and a move remains likely for the winger. Solomon is already down the Tottenham pecking order, and he will drop a further place if a new winger comes in before the deadline. The Tottenham fans buckle up because the transfer window just exploded. Fabrizio Romano has confirmed major news, and it's sending shockwaves through Spurs supporters. from dream deals to shocking twists. Here's everything you need to know. Tottenham have left themselves with plenty to get done in the remaining week of the summer transfer window in order to back Thomas Frank for the season ahead. Spurs want to compete across all 4 competitions this season, including their return to the Champions League, but have thus far only brought in 2 new faces in the shape of Mohamed Kudus and Joao Palhinha, while selling Son Heung-min to LAFC and losing James Maddison to an ACL injury for much of the season. With Dejan Kulusevski also out for the long term, Frank admitted to Football London on Friday that numbers-wise his Tottenham squad was therefore similar to the one he inherited before the window opened, albeit with the added quality of Kudus and Palhinha within his new system. So what do Spurs have left to do in the window before it closes on September 1st, if they are going to bring in the number 10, winger, and the centre-back that Football.London has previously reported that Frank would like to bolster his squad with to the levels required for the fixture-packed season ahead? The goalkeeping department appears to be set, with Frank making it clear that Antonin Kinski would not be heading out of the club this summer, despite links with a move to League One side Lille. That means he has Guglielmo Vicario, Kinski and Spurs' only senior club-trained player in Brandon Austin, as 3 senior goalkeepers to use across the season. Josh Keeley left the club for Luton in a £1 million deal with a sell-on clause this summer, and the club also have young keeper Luca Gunter, who could get a loan again after last season's spell at non-league Wealdstone. Frank told Football London out in South Korea during the club's pre-season tour that he felt he had enough cover in the fullback spots, with Pedro Porro, Destiny Udogie, who returned to training last week, Jed Spence and Ben Davies, with Archie Gray also able to cover both sides. Frank made it clear that Davies is an important, experienced player for his squad, but the player himself admitted on the tour to Football.London that with 10 months left on his contract, he's not entirely sure what the future holds for him. Frank does want another centre-back because of his propensity to switch to a back 3 at times, and concerns over the availability of new captain Christian Romero and Mickey van der Vento after the pair played in just 26 and 22 games respectively of the 60 fixtures in the previous campaign. There is also Kevin Danzo, Davies, Radu Dragusin, who's on his way back from his own ACL injury, and summer signing Kota Takai, who is back working outdoors as he recovers from a plantar fascia problem in his foot, while 18-year-old Luka Vuskovic is expected to join Ashley Phillips and Alfie Dorrington by heading out on loan to get regular match experience if Spurs can bring another defender through the door, with Football.London previously reporting that Hamburg, where his brother plays, are keen to bring him to Germany. A new centre-back is lower down Tottenham's priority list than the new number 10 and winger, but it is a position Frank would like bolstered if possible before the window closes. Football London understands Spurs held discussions earlier in the summer about a potential transfer for Bayer Leverkusen centre-back Piero Hincapié, with the 23-year-old Ecuadorian having long been a player of interest under former managing director of football Fabio Paratici. However, a move for the player did not proceed after that point, and those within the club claim there has been no active interest or contact with Leverkusen regarding the defender since Dot. Links to Burnley's Maxime Esteve were also knocked down earlier in the window, with the Frenchman later signing a new contract with the Clarets. It could be that, as is the case with Hincapié, Spurs look for a centre-back who can also cover one of the full-back slots to give some extra depth to Frank's options. The new contract for Romero is seen as a big building block for the Danes' defence, but he still wants a further body in there for when the games mount up, with technical director Johan Langer and the now consultant Paratici working through a list of potential targets in the role. When Spurs were winning games, the Aussies' approach of "it's just who we are, mate" went down well with supporters. It wore thin when the likes of Ipswich and Leicester were leaving North London with 3 points, but Postecoglou's biggest weakness is arguably Frank's biggest strength. In the Super Cup defeat by Paris Saint-Germain earlier this month, Spurs came within 60 seconds of beating Luis Enrique's side. Frank opted for a 3-5-2 formation, utilising Richarlison and Kudus in attack with an extra centre-back to nullify the threat of false 9 Ousmane Dembele and suffocating the space for wingers Desire Doe and Kvicha Kvaratskhelia. In Spurs' Premier League opener, against Burnley when they were favourites to win and would be expected to have the majority of possession. Frank switched to a 4-3-3 formation and selected a midfield of Lucas Bergvall, Archie Gray and Pape Matar Sarr. Frank stuck with the same formation against Manchester City on Saturday, but brought Palhinha and Rodrigo Bentancur, two defensively minded midfielders, back into his starting lineup. The way the head coach has been able to adapt so early in his tenure, sometimes using a back four and sometimes a five, even bringing in Palhinha and Rodrigo Bentancur, that was a masterstroke, said Match of the Day pundit Micah Richards. Thomas Franks brought a know-how of how to see games out. Spurs are only the second side to win away to a Pep Guardiola-managed team in back-to-back seasons, and this one was far too easily achieved. City fans will have left the Etihad on Saturday with more questions than answers after a performance that was the complete antithesis of last weekend's win over Wolves. Creative, fluid patterns that led to goal-scoring opportunities were replaced by unimaginative, misplaced passes that resulted in very little positive. City underwhelmed for the majority, but you have to wonder how much of that underperformance was down to Spurs' organised and aggressive game plan. From the first time James Trafford was offered the ball in open play, it was evident that Thomas Frank had directed his players to rush the City box. Richarlison nearly nicked the ball off his toe in the 9th minute of the game. They swarmed in packs and never let City settle, eventually forcing the mistake for João Palhinha to score a well-timed second goal. City had no response. The visitors were content conceding possession, but hit City where it hurt, with more efforts at goal and a greater number of shots on target. Each of the two big chances they created ended in a goal. The two Manchester City generated ended in a miss. City were being confronted by a team who looked more confident and assured in their specific roles, like they had played this way for years. Like it came naturally. Cristiano Romano did a number on Erling Haaland, Palhinha, who won more duels than any other player, and Rodrigo Bentancur were more assertive than Tijani Reijnders and Nico Gonzalez in midfield, Mohamed Kudus more direct in attack. I have a feeling the performance was a little bit better than the result, reflected Guardiola generously. His reading of the game will be incompatible with most others. Saturday's result was not only a statement victory for the Frank regime, but a triumph of managerial style. Having also won with Brentford in November 2022, Frank becomes only the third manager to beat Guardiola away from home with two different clubs. There's no coincidence in that. I definitely believe in the aggressive press, as you saw today, and as you saw with my Brentford team, Frank told reporters at the Etihad. I believe in being front-footed. I like that mentality. It's a more offensive way of defending. It's more fun to defend on the opponent's half. So yeah, let's go for it. Spurs may have started the campaign under the highly Spurs contradiction of having endured their worst domestic season for nearly 50 years, while simultaneously landing a first trophy since 2008. But Frank is out to change perceptions for good. We have been working so hard on our defensive principles. Mentality is the key thing. You need mentality to win games like this, he added. Tottenham have long been mocked for an absence of big game mindset. The term Spursy is rooted in that all too familiar shortcoming, evident just 3 weeks ago in Super Cup defeat to PSG after blowing a 2-0 lead. But they have passed the real acid test with flying colours in these opening 2 weeks, with Frank's fingerprint also all over the 3-0 downing of Burnley. Even failed pursuits to sign a no-10, losing out on Eberechi's to Arsenal just this week, have not derailed focus. Spurs' creative side has shone, scoring 5 times while registering 2 clean sheets. 6 points and a goal difference of +5 represents their best start to a league season. A small sample size, yes, but a big change in identity and fortitude. The question now will be, how long can it last?